What's up, guys? So for those of you who watch my channel a lot, you'll know that I'm very into the the superhero kind of sci-fi genre. If it wasn't evident, if you don't watch my videos, I'm going to talk about movies, so that's where I got the confusion. I'm going to talk specifically about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they revealed some new information about the Infinity War film, which is super exciting, and there are a lot of kind of reviews of Spider-Man Homecoming coming out now, which has kind of made me kind of revisit it and think about it, and I've kind of sort of come up with, I don't know if it's really a theory per se, but it kind of, at least for me, explains some of the confusion with the time frame that things are actually set in, and a couple of the questions that people had because they don't correlate with when movies were released and certain references and etc. So yeah, so the first thing obviously is the things that were revealed at D23, I think it was. I know for a fact it wasn't Comic-Con. If it was Comic-Con, I'd be doing a lot more of these kinds of videos. But they basically revealed that Thanos is going to have a team of people kind of backing him up. They are the Black Order from the comics, but in the movies they're being called the Children of Thanos, which kind of makes it seem like Gamora and Nebula would have been in these if they weren't members of the Guardians. So that's kind of cool, kind of gives a whole kind of like family reunion kind of thing coming in. There's still no word yet on whether or not Thanos is going to kind of revive Red Skull, because there's every potential for that to happen once he gets the Tesseract, and etc. So there's no word on that, or if he's going to revive Quicksilver, or like there's a whole heap of things that could happen that would mean past characters whose stories kind of either ended suddenly or ended in such a way that seemed like they could come back. There's no word on if those things are going to even be touched on. But considering that the Avengers now have 5 villains to face off instead of just one, it's gonna kind of add that extra little element of, you know, things that take up screen time. So in all likelihood those things won't be answered. And then yeah, so that's kind of the information that we've got so far. As for my kind of theory kind of thing, it comes from, and this is why I mentioned Spider-Man Homecoming, the fact that in the movie it says 8 years later, and that's 8 years later after the cleanup of the Avengers. This is where the kind of time frame kind of is a bit ambiguous. My theory goes that Homecoming's kind of set a year in the future to when it was actually released, and that was mainly because they were trying to get they wanted the other Marvel films to come as the lead up to the actual event. So Homecoming was kind of like, well, let's get this out as quickly as we can, we've made the deal, they've kind of seen him in this, let's get the solo film out, while we can capitalise on the excitement and the hype. So I feel like that's why they did it this year and not next year. But I think it's supposed to be set next year, and that the actual Avengers movie is set a year before it was released. but due to their schedule back then, it wasn't able to be produced that quickly. And the reason for this is that two characters is my main reasons for this: Captain America and Spider-Man. So Captain America's solo film came out 2009, I think. And after he came out, he would have just been kind of sitting around S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of doing nothing, trying to catch up on life, basically. And then one of the after credit scenes and part of the actual film itself showed Nick Fury trying to get him back out into the world. It wouldn't have taken him 2-3 years to do that. He would have tried to do that as quickly as he could. And with the Avengers movie being the perfect way to do that, it kind of makes sense for that to be how he gets him back out into the world. Then you've got to remember that the whole kind of plot within the Avengers, building that machine would have taken time. It wouldn't have been like a week and suddenly the machine's built, because they would have had to, discover that they need certain materials, find where certain materials are, actually go and get said materials, prepare them to be, and then you've got to transport that whole thing to the top of Stark Tower, etc. So that would have taken time in and of itself, but mainly with the Captain America element, I feel like that's how that's kind of, if you push that back a year, and then push Spider-Man Homecoming forward a year, 2011 to 2018-19 kind of makes sense, because the next Spider-Man film, which is going to be come out in 2019, is supposed to only be set like 5 minutes after the end of Avengers 4. So he'll go back from Homecoming to protect the little guy, maybe spend a month or two kind of doing his own thing, then get called up as Thanos comes to attack, and then straight away after that he's going to just jump straight in 5 minutes after that whole big battle's finished, which obviously the films aren't going to be released 5 minutes after each other, so there's a little bit of time flexibility going on, but I feel like that's the most kind of accurate way to kind of set it out, particularly when you also remember that if you've seen Homecoming, spoilers if you haven't, that one of the opening kind of scenes is a montage of Spider-Man waiting for Tony Stark to let him know when the next Avengers fight is going to be, so that he can be involved in it. Well, the next mission, not so much a fight, but just the next mission. And that could have been a year, which then makes sense for why he's so eager when Vulture kind of makes his appearance and when he starts to get into the actual action of Homecoming. So, yeah, I hope this kind of helped and it makes sense. I feel like I haven't explained it really well, but I hope it made sense. If it did, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think that my theory kind of fits and works? I literally came up with it during the 5 minutes while I was washing dishes tonight. And yeah, if it doesn't, give me a counter proposal as to what you think is the more likely thing for those time constraints. I completely forgot about the Captain America part. In Winter Soldier, they talk about Stephen Strange being a threat and that Hydra has monitored them. And then obviously Doctor Strange movie came out after that. If you imagine that the final fight happened in the time frame of when that was released, the whole him searching for the cure for his hands and then learning the Mystic Arts at Carmitage as not happening within a, half-hour kind of sequence, but actually taking up quite a lot of time, despite the fact that he learns quite quickly. Those books are still really thick, and he's still got to read through them all. There's no guarantee that he's a really speedy reader. He just learns really quickly. But that could have taken up to a year just at Carmitage alone, and then another year on top of that, which then kind of pushes back when he starts to learn magic, kind of, a threat. It has also been, I'm not sure if it was actually properly confirmed or not, but that the reference to War Machine wasn't actually War Machine from Civil War, and that could just be one of the other kind of weapons companies trying to make an Iron Man suit, which was evidenced in Iron Man 2, where you see other companies trying to replicate the suit. So it could have been that the guy that was damaged in the ex-Marine that was damaged in the suit could have been the one in the video with Hammer Tech, where he kind of spins and kind of cracks his back. That could have been what it was. Which means that from that point on, he then starts to learn the Mystic Arts and try to find a cure for his hands. Which is then where Hydra would have started going, hang on, this guy's like a little too eager to get his hands back. He's starting to learn the Mystic Arts, maybe we need to keep an eye on him. And then that whole thing kind of makes sense, because he is trapped in the Dark Dimension in a time loop for quite some time. So, the whole time flex theory, I think, kind of fits. But again, let me know if you liked that and if it helped, if you think it works. If you don't, leave me a comment. Give me a counter proposal. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, as I make new videos every day, and I would love for you guys to, part of the journey, part of the gang. That isn't one of those red buttons that you're not allowed to push. You are actually allowed to push that red button. So, yeah. And until next time, guys, keep raising hell.